Yo, what's good? It's your man 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today I want to do this video about Ime Udoka. It's a damn shame what happened to Flip. It's a damn shame. Look, I'm about to dive into this in this video. If you like it, smash the like button, hit subscribe, and the bell for notifications. Yo, I saw the headline last night, and I was like, man, I'll check it out in the morning. And so I was watching NBA Chev, and he was just going in on the brother, and I was like, damn. But then I hollered at my partner, and he was like, yo, did you see this? And as soon as I started talking about it, I was like, I gotta do a damn video on this thing. Because it's a damn shame what happened to Flip. Yo, this is on so many levels. On so many levels. One, Ime Udoka. He was a player in the NBA, a journeyman, role player, bench guy, solid but unspectacular. Had an okay career, I guess you could say, but really started to find his headway in the coaching ranks, being under the Greg Popovich San Antonio Spurs tutelage, coaching tree. He had a lot of notoriety. And you could tell that he was biding his time, potentially for the Spurs job, but he was positioned for a great head coaching opportunity. He wasn't somebody who was going to get, brought into a Charlotte Hornets situation or trying to, cut your nails in Atlanta where it was going to be challenging initially, right? He was somebody who was going to be set up for a legitimate position, a legitimate opportunity. And he waited and he waited. He was in Brooklyn, thought he was going to get that one. Didn't. But then he slides into Boston. And I mean, when I say slides, I mean, it's a beautiful slide. It's almost like Eric Spoelstra sliding into the head coaching position in Miami, knowing that you have a team president in Pat Riley, who's not only an executive, but he's also a previous player and coach, right? He can talk to you on levels. He's going to guide you. He's going to be there to support you every step of the way. He's somebody that you want to have in your corner because you know there's going to be job security. You know there's going to be full organizational support. They believe in you. If he's bringing you in, you are set up great. You are set up to do your damn thing. And this is what Ime Udoka slid into in Boston. He had Brad Stevens, who, if you listen to his exit when he was leaving, he was saying, look, one, I can't do the travel. Throughout all of COVID, everything going on, I'm not trying to get up, go to the practices, run all, but I still have a love for this. I just can't do it in this way still. Now, it's a beautiful thing because somebody recognizes his limitations. He can maximize what he can still do. And so he moves into the executive role to kick out Danny Ainge. It was needed, right? But then he brings in a coach who could do what maybe he was struggling to do when it came to relating to the players and really connecting with them, especially a younger generation and a different cultural generation, right? He wasn't exactly going to inspire Robert Williams and Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart and these guys. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different culture. And he knew that. It didn't mean he didn't know his X's and O's and schemes and all these other things, but it just meant that he understood if he brings in somebody who could complement him together, they could do some amazing things, and they did. There was a point in the playoffs that was actually really beautiful. I saw this moment where the Boston Celtics were losing. I believe it was in the NBA Finals. It was somewhere in the later stages of the playoffs, but they lose a game, and they pan the camera, the stadium camera, to Brad Stevens, and he's in the box seats. And he's watching intently, and he's seeing what's going on, and he's like, oh, hell no. And you could tell by the end of the game, he gets up immediately, and he walks out, and the look of determination in his eye was that him and Ime Udoka and the coach staff were going to sit down, and they were going to hash this out. How we can exploit, take advantage, and maximize our talent to be able to leverage it to win the next game. And they did. And they did. I mean, Ime Udoka was set up with that type of coaching, insight, skill, talent right behind him and his organization who handpicked him, meaning that he was going to be fully invested in making sure that he was successful. And he was. They got to game 6 in the NBA Finals, right? You are set up. You are, I mean, Talk about being pigeonholed for the next 10 to 15 years as a head coach in a major market that's transforming its culture, that's transforming its perspective around the league to really be able to bring in some bigger name free agents. You are going to be great. And damn, it's a shame what happened to Flip. If you know this movie, you know the quote. The movie, one of the greatest basketball movies of all time, Above the Rim. Tupac Shakur is in it, playing Birdie. You got Dwayne Martin, stars as Kyle Lee Watson. You know what I mean? High school ball player, phenom, trying to get to the Division I level. You got Marlon Wayans as Boogaloo. You know what I'm saying? Kyle Lee Watson's best friend who just got out. You got Leon Robinson as Shep. Yo, he's playing ball without a ball. Yo, if you know the movie, you know it. You know, one of the greatest of all time. And of course, you got Bernie Mac as Flip. Bernie Mac is playing Shep's old best friend and past teammate who remembers the glory years, who remembers how things were, right? And he's a staple throughout most of the movie where he's always reminding people, hey, yo, there was a time when Shep was you. And if you learn from him, you could do some great things. Now, of course, he has this comic relief and he jokes on guys and, you know, he does a whole bunch of stuff and you love his character until he goes too far. And damn, it's a shame what happened to Flip. Tupac Shakur's character, Birdie, who's a gangster, decides to get back against Flip for running his mouth too much. And damn, that was a shame what happened to Flip. Yo, Ime Udoka. Damn, it's a shame. Bruh, you done messed it up. Here you are engaged to Nia Long. Nia Long, one of the most beautiful actors. I mean, this was somebody I fell in love with at a young age, right? It was Janet Jackson, right? Then it was, what's her name from Desperado? I always forget her name. And then it was Nia Long, right? And Nia Long was this beautiful chocolate sister. I mean, you just grew up and you just like, man, Love Jones, bruh, yo, take a brother back. You know what I mean? That was crushed for real. And here you are, man. You got an amazing setup. Amazing setup. You worked your ass off to get to this point, to be able to become a head coach of an NBA team, to lead a team that is championship worthy, has young talent. You are in a position to become a great. You're in a position to literally become one of the greatest coaches of all time. You can leapfrog a Doc Rivers with just 2 rings, right? You can do some incredible things, and you're set up here to do it. And you got to go chase. You got to go stick yourself out there, literally, inside the office. You know, Biggie has this quote, never sell where you rest at. I grew up with the quote, you don't shit where you eat, right? You do that in 2 different places. Man, if you got caught, let's say outside at a club with some random chick, yo, it doesn't affect your career. Maybe the marriage, yeah, you're going to have to deal with that for sure because you got a black woman. You're going to have to deal with that for sure. But it ain't going to jack up this situation, this 7-figure a year job, career that you have worked your ass off to get to. But man, you had to go shit where you eat. And you did it on the worst possible stage. One, you're a black man in the NBA as a young coach in Boston. Boston, known for dealing with its racial issues, not being a place where they're going to let pretty much anything from a black player slide. Right? They love you when they love you, and they definitely kick you when you down. And I tell you right now, man, get ready to get kicked. They're already talking about potentially suspending you for the full season, right? I wouldn't be shocked if they limit that to some degree, but who knows? Because in the wake of the Robert Sarver having to sell his team for all these misogynistic statements, you know, operating in this level of patriarchy, right? Then you also have the Dallas Mavericks situation a few years back, right? There's been a whole bunch of situations And the NBA is just in a place where it's just like, yo, we've got to trim the fat on all this. We've got to go ahead and take steps to ensure that we are above reproach so we don't lose these sponsors, so we don't lose these television deals, so we don't lose any fans. We don't need no protests in front of no stadiums, right? Chauncey Billups had a accusation, which he was acquitted of, right? That was years ago. I mean, like 10, 15 years ago, right? He gets a new job in Portland. And what happens? They go in and pull him up and say, hey, we heard about this. And they began to drag him in the media, right? He was acquitted. Didn't do nothing wrong. By law, was not found to have done anything wrong. Didn't have to pay out or nothing, right? And he still gets dragged. Bro, you got caught. You got caught doing one of the fundamental things, as NBA Chef says. He said, yo, getting fired for sleeping with a woman at work is probably one of the oldest reasons in the book of ever getting fired. And I have to agree. There is no place in a workplace that is going to be able to permit somebody in a position of power to hire, to fire, to dictate where money is going, people's salaries, right? To allow them to have an intimate relationship with somebody else. And now everybody's looking and being like, well, how do we know this person is really earning it? By their actual work ethic or their work production versus just being your side piece, right? And the sad part is that that's what the individual gets relegated to, being a side piece. This woman might have been amazing at her job. She might have been instrumental. She might have been probably one of the pieces of the puzzle that allowed everything to come together last year. And now she gets relegated to a side piece. This is why you don't shit where you eat. You don't sell where you rest at. You don't go chasing in your own backyard. It makes no sense. It hits you in so many different ways. It can go wrong in almost every way, right? And so when I look at Ime Udoka right now, I'm like, bro, I don't know what to tell you. I want to rock with you because you're a black coach, for one, because we don't get a lot of opportunities. And that's just straight up. We don't get a lot of opportunities. And then when we do get opportunities, we don't even get an opportunity all the time by the players, right? Like when Stephen Silas, right, son of Paul Silas, was coaching. He was killing the game. He was killing in Dallas, right? Biding his time in Charlotte, right? Sharpening his teeth. Everybody liked him. They said, man, he's got an amazing brain for the game of basketball. He should be able to do some great things. And finally, he gets an opportunity in Houston with James Harden. He's supposed to have John Wall. He's got Christian Wood. He's got Jayshawn Tate. He's got pieces. Daniel Theis is there, right? They got these pieces. And he's like, yo, I can do what the previous coaches couldn't, right? I've already put together a great offensive scheme around Luka. You see what it's doing. Now I'm trying to do this for you, James Harden, in a way that's going to be better. James didn't even want to give him a chance. And I'm just like, damn, this brother was waiting for his shot. And now all of a sudden that shot's taken from him. And now he's got to coach a retooling, restarting team, which he probably never signed up for or wanted, right? And he's got to catch all this flack for all the losses, and it's not his fault. The worst part about it is it couldn't happen at a worse time. Because for the Boston Celtics, who just got to the NBA Finals, we all saw, right, how difficult it is to get back, right? The Phoenix Suns got to the NBA Finals, right, and then get knocked off in the semifinals against the Dallas Mavericks, right? Guys are always getting better. Teams are always getting better. And the East has certainly gotten better. Brooklyn has finally got its stuff together. Seemingly, we'll see what the whole New York vaccine policy things, pan out. But to have a healthy Ben Simmons, and I'm going to do a video on Ben Simmons as well, because he just did an interview on Old Man and the Three with JJ Redick, right? And he begins to share a lot of what was going on. But the most important thing is to hear he's healthy, which means he's back. First team all defense is back. One of the most dynamic playmakers and facilitators at the point guard position is back. The all-star is back. The all-NBA player is back, right? 6'10", 35, 40-inch vertical, freight train, playmaker, facilitator. Shoot, he's almost like if LeBron never figured out his shooting, right? Except an inch taller and a quicker first step and possibly a better handle, right? Like Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant, like that's not going to be a problem. Like the Brooklyn Nets aren't going to be itching for revenge against Boston, right? Philadelphia 76ers aren't going to be itching for a chance to get to that ring, right? They can't wait to take you down. James Harden is in shape. Tyrese Maxey is in year 3, looking like a future superstar or at least an all-star level player. And they picked up PJ Tucker, which means that defense is going to be, oh my goodness, you're going to have your hands full. Not to mention Milwaukee, who you guys, didn't have to see full throttle. You didn't have to deal with Chris Middleton, right? He was hurt. And yet Giannis was still able to drag him to a game 7, right? You're going to have your hands full this year. Toronto's going to be better. Chicago's going to be healthy. Cleveland's going to be healthy. And they got Donovan Mitchell. You got all these teams retooled and ready to go. Even Atlanta's going to be better. And here it is at the beginning of what training camp should be starting any week now, right? At the very beginning of this upcoming season, the scandal comes out. Your head coach is in the wind. You don't know what's going to happen to him. You don't know who's going to be at the helm, right? Is Brad Stevens going to have to come down and coach, right? That might have to be the move, since he was the one who hand selected Ime Udoka, even though, he was highly sought after. I give him that, highly sought after, right? Paid his dues. And I don't really necessarily agree with some of the comments around him being merely a player's coach. Look, I know all the laugh about players coach. I was a players coach, right? We have a certain relationship with the players because we can understand the culture, we understand the lingo, we understand how to engage with them. But there's certain boundaries that we keep. But you also don't just get there because you're merely a players coach. If you're merely a players coach, you're at the end of the bench. You're not the first up assistant coach. That's not the role you get, right? Ime Udoka was first up assistant coach, right? He was that next in line. He was the one who took over if the head coach got sick or wasn't able to come in. He was the one coaching the game. He was the one who might be calling out plays, right? He's the one who's going to be drawing up the play in the huddle, right? Who's already pulling out the playbook while the game is going on and saying, hey, let's run this play. First one in the head coach's ear. Being that you are not merely a player's coach. So I never want to relegate somebody who does have that label as merely that. And at the same time, bruh, this was the worst time you could have ever done it. At the ascension of your career, at the early pinnacle of it, that you're only building upon, when you're going to have that much more pressure to try to repeat next year. Because I didn't have you coming out the East next season, right? I don't even have you coming out of semifinals. I thought you were going to struggle and trying to figure it out, integrating Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White for a full season. Right, you get Robert Williams back healthy. You got all this depth. You got all this change going on. How are you going to figure it out? You've probably been having meetings with Brad Stevens and all these different things. And now all of a sudden, this happens. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'll say this much. Brad Stevens, you better look in the mirror, bro. I mean, not Brad Stevens, but Ime Udoka. You better look in the mirror. You better take a moment and say, look, you may not get another opportunity. You may not. You might end up on somebody's bench because you might become an assistant. And that might be where you stay for the next 5-10 years until all this blows over. Until somebody's willing to give you another chance and to risk their reputation, to risk their decision on you again. All right? So, I don't know. I want to know what you all think. Holler at me in the comment section. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Do you think Ime Udoka is going to keep his job? Do you think he's going to be able to somehow keep his career together, right? Somehow turn the season around, change the narrative on him at this point. What do you think is going to happen? All right, holler at me in the comment section. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll holler at y'all next time. Peace.